everyone, and welcome back to Perceive 2021. Please give a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, Marissa Smith from Streamlit and our own Andrew Mendez from Clarifai, who will be speaking about building AI-driven web apps using Streamlit and Clarifai. Welcome to our stage.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here and to present this tutorial going from idea to an AI-powered application using Streamlit and the Clarifai platform/API. To give a brief introduction, I'm Andrew Mendez. I am a senior machine learning engineer over at Clarifai. I will be co-presenting this tutorial with Marissa Smith, who is a developer advocate at Streamlit. The agenda for this tutorial includes some background and motivation, a demo showing you how to create an application on Clarifai, and then I'll hand the tutorial over to Marissa, who will then be creating an interactive AI application using the Clarifai API and Streamlit, an open source application framework. So we're all here at this conference because you really see the value that AI brings today. AI transforms how we derive insights, analyze data, automate tasks, and drive decision-making. However, there are a lot of challenges with the engineering behind training, evaluating, and deploying AI models. Developing AI systems results in a lot of technical debt because you have to scale and manage infrastructure around data labeling, training, evaluating, and then deploying AI models. In addition, AI is a very iterative development paradigm, which can result in many ways that AI cannot meet the performance expectations that you're looking for. This is where the Clarifai platform and Clarifai API can drive a lot of value for both engineering teams and data science teams, as Clarifai provides an end-to-end AI lifecycle as an API, making ML ops really easy. And on top of that, all trained or pre-trained AI models sit on top of a scalable, low latency inference API, making it really easy to integrate your AI models into your applications. Now we will be going through a tutorial with creating an application on the Clarifai platform, which will allow you to then access pre-trained models using the Clarifai API. First, you need to create a Clarifai account and sign into this account. From there, we will be creating an application. I have already created an account, so I will go ahead and create an application. When you create an application, a key will automatically be generated for you. This will be needed to authenticate REST API calls. And an application on Clarifai is the basic building block for creating AI applications on the Clarifai platform. Your data, annotations, models, predictions, and searches are all contained within applications. Access to each application can be controlled using one or more app-specific API keys. So we will go ahead and create an application. You will call it Perceive Demo. So here we're creating an app ID, and in addition, we're creating a display name. So now that our application is created, we can now go into it. So here is where the API key is generated, and you will need a copy of this in order to authenticate your API calls. We will focus on using models that are already pre-trained, meaning that the models are already trained on large data sets and can generalize to predict semantic concepts in many images. To do that, we will need to select model mode, which is our directory of pre-trained model templates users can leverage in their own applications. We will filter the list of models only to display pre-trained visual classifiers. we will select the general model, which is a visual classifier that can predict up to 10,000 semantic concepts within an image. We have several other models to play with, such as the travel recognition model and the apparel image recognition model. Once we select the general model, a few things that we will need to copy for our REST API calls includes the model ID and the version ID. However, within the user interface, we can test out some of the API calls and see a few of the concepts that this model can predict. By clicking on the concepts tabs, we can see a few of some of the concepts. And here you can select the model version and enter an image URL that then you can see some of the concepts that your model will predict. Now I will be handing over the tutorial to Marissa Smith, who will be creating an interactive AI application using the Clarifai API and the Streamlit open source app framework.
Okay, so now that you have access to a trained model through Clarifai, let's see how you can take that, turn it into a web app, and bring that web app straight through to deployment using Streamlit. In case you're unfamiliar with Streamlit, it is a free open source Python package that's used to make web apps out of your data science or machine learning projects. All you have to do is download it to your computer, and it acts just like any other Python package. Import it into your script, add Streamlit calls in various places in your app to immediately display graphs, data, headers, and even interactive widgets. Now, Streamlit handles all of the difficult styling, leaving you with a super streamlined, beautiful app with minimal coding. And now we have Streamlit Cloud. This is a platform that you can use to deploy your Streamlit web app in one click. Here's how it works. We have a community tier that is completely free that you can launch your apps from. All you have to do is connect your GitHub account to our cloud account. Then your public project repos can be deployed with one click and immediately shareable with anyone. On your cloud dashboard, select the repo from a drop-down menu, put in your main file name or path, and then hit deploy. So just before I actually jump into the demo, I wanted to show you how you can get in on the deployment fun. First up, just visit streamlit.io/cloud, and there you can sign up for our platform. Within a few minutes, you'll get an email confirmation, and then you're ready to deploy your own projects. Okay, so now I'm actually going to demo one of those deployment processes. So I'm going to actually just escape out of my presentation here. And I'm first going to take you over to my GitHub repo where I have a standard machine learning or data science model basically ready to go. Here you can see that we have a README that gives you a few instructions on how to set up an environment and run this app. We also have a requirements.txt here. So this requirement.txt is optimized for our cloud platform, which means that we only need to import the two packages that we use to make this app run. One of them is Streamlit itself, and I've locked this to the Streamlit 1.0 launch that we just launched in the last couple of weeks. And the other one is the Clarifai gRPC package itself. Now, Streamlit is actually an intuitive platform, which means that we automatically download Streamlit, the latest version of Streamlit, when you actually deploy a project on our cloud. So I could actually remove this, but since we have a few things that rely on being 1.0, I have left it here. So if we jump back to the demo repo, you can see that we have a couple of Python files here. One that's a utilities Python file where we set up a few of our functions. and then one that is the actual Streamlit app itself. Now I'll go into some of the code a bit later, but now that I've shown you what our repo looks like, let's actually deploy it locally, make sure it works, and then I'll show you how you can take that to deployment. So to do that, we actually are going to do it from the terminal. So I'm going to bring over my terminal here, and you'll notice that I am in my local copy of this repo, perceived demo with Git. And then if I take a look at our files, we see all of the same files I just talked about, our README, requirements, utils, and then of course, our perceive app demo.py. To run this locally with Streamlit, you call Streamlit run, and then you pass the file name, which is perceive app demo.py, hit enter. Streamlit will automatically open this in a new tab in your browser. And we can see that we have the first step of our app here ready to go. So this app was structured by Andrew at Clarifai. And what it does is the first thing you need to do is actually enter an app key, because you have to have a Clarifai account. So Andrew has graciously given me an app key that I can use for our demo. So we enter that into our text field, we hit enter. And then you see it brings up the next step. And this is where I'm going to actually upload a picture, and then we're going to talk to Clarifai and do some predicting of the objects in that picture. So I'm going to browse my files here, and I'm actually just going to select, here we go, my LinkedIn profile picture to start. So now that we have uploaded a file, we see that we get the file uploaded. And it brings us into the last step of the app, which is starting to display some of those results. You can see an image preview here. Notice a model has not been selected yet, so we get a little box here notifying us of that. And we see that step 3 has popped up in our sidebar, where we can actually select one of these models. What's handy is that you actually have this little expander right here. And if you click on this, this expands down and gives you a bunch of details about all of the models that you can use and run on your image. Now, this is a pretty generic image. So I'm actually going to run it first with this general image recognition model and see what we get. So as you've seen here, we now have some predicted concepts that have come back from our Clarifai account. It does a pretty good job as well. We see that it's detected that it is a portrait, that I'm a person, I'm a woman with eyeglasses. So it's done a very good job. And as we scroll down here, you see that we get the first top 20 results kind of listed by its confidence here that the model has in this. And then we also have another expander right here if you wanted to see the raw API response that you get from Clarifai itself. So you can actually see the structure of their response. Now let's do one more model. Let's do the clothing image recognition models. We'll pick this one. And you see here that predicted concepts is still here, but all of the concept names have changed to match with clothing. And it detects a few things, like it knows that we have a coat, we have some graphic block colors in my scarf here. And it tries to do a guess of what my jacket could possibly be, leather or suede. And this is still expanded. So we see the new response from the new clothing image recognition model call that we made. And if you want to collapse that, you can just click again and it will collapse. Okay, so we have a model. We've put it into our app and it's working locally very well. See localhost up here at 8501. We now want to take that and actually deploy it so that it can be live on the internet and anybody can view this app. The easiest way to do this with Streamlit is actually right through our UI right here with this little hamburger menu here at the top right. If you click that, you see that you actually have some developer options here. The second one down being deploy this app. So we're going to click this button and this brings us over to the share.streamlit.io cloud account. So notice that it already knows who I am because I have logged in before. And it brings me right to the deploy an app screen. And it's automatically picked up my repository here, the ME Smith perceived demo. It's picked up that we're on the main branch and the file name that I've been working with. So that's all ready to go, and we can just hit deploy here. So this is what we call in Streamlit affectionately the baking phase. This is where Streamlit is working on the back end and managing all of that difficult process of actually getting an app from a local host and putting it onto the internet for you. Noticed here that it is collecting Streamlit and of course Clarifai, those two packages we put into our requirements file, as well as collecting all of the packages that those two are based on. Now, while it's collecting all of this and making all of the downloads, I'm going to walk you through this handy little menu that you have right on this baking screen, which is this 3 dots here. This is a quick menu that you can access to manage your app or your apps. First, we have the ability to download this log of this app as it's running right now. We also have the ability to reboot the app right from this menu. Now, our community tier of our cloud platform has 3 free apps that you can deploy. Oh, and the balloons mean that the app is already gone live and is on the internet right now. I'm just going to quickly finish going through this menu. So you can delete your app right from here, because if you ever wanted to rotate your apps, you then have an option to access your settings. Here you can access a list of all of the apps that you have deployed if you wanted to be able to manage those for any reason. And of course, a couple of helpful links to the documentation and support. So I'm just going to click that down. Using this little arrow in the bottom right-hand corner here, I'm just going to collapse that sidebar with our logs. If you ever wanted to get that back up, you can literally just click this Manage App button here, and that will expand that back out for you. So here we go. This is our app live on the internet. Let me just pop in our AP, the app key that we used here, and it is still working as we expected. So it's just that simple. It takes just exactly that length of time to take an app that you've made and put it onto the internet, deploying on Streamlit Cloud. I'm now going to take you back over to my GitHub, where I'm going to just quickly run you through a bit of the interesting things of the code and show you really how easy it is to actually write the script of an app like this. Okay, so here is our actual Python file where we import Streamlit here. It's the first call that we make. And I really want to show you how simple this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to Command F and find all of the times where we actually call the Streamlit package st dot. And you notice up here that it's found that 28 times. So with just 28 Streamlit calls, you can make an app just like this. Now, 28 calls to me sounds like quite a bit, but that's actually because we're using 11 of those 28 calls and just writing information to the screen for our reader. That is writing text or pasting those images to the screen. In fact, we only use 17 of these calls to actually make the bulk of the app. In fact, it's mostly in managing the state, as you see here when we call session state, in the 2 expanders that we used as well. And of course, the file uploader, that radio button, and the text input at the very beginning to enter your app key. Now, this app, as you probably saw from the flow of the app itself, works in kind of 3 steps. The first step here is entering that app key from Clarifai and entering into the app. And this is where we call our text input. The second step is that once the Streamlit app has detected that you've entered your app key, the file uploader comes up where you can actually upload that image and start working on the next step. So once an image has been detected and we've opened it, we then go into a combination of step 3 and starting to show the results. So that's what you see right here. Here we set up our columns so that we can put our image next to the perceived concepts that come from Clarifai. And then here's where we set up the sidebar. We give a JSON variable for our AI models that we can organize the model ID and version number to connect to Clarifai. We also set up our radio button in our sidebar so that our user can actually pick which recognition model they would like to use. And here's a big section where we call the expander and write all of that information for our user to know what each model does. And then that's really getting towards the end of the app. Here we just have a bit of logic to avoid running our app when you don't have a model selected. And this line right here is really about collecting our response from Clarifai. Here is simply displaying those predicted concepts next to our image, and that's it. In just that 150 lines of code that you see here, you can make an app with this level of complexity using Streamlit. And that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you so much for your time today and for viewing this video. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Marissa and Andrew. It was a pleasure. A big round of applause from our virtual audience. We will see you at our next session.